Welcome to Conversations. I'm your host, Gregor. Thanks for spending some time with us here this weekend. Joining me this segment is Jason Bowman, engineer/fitness professional. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jason.
Join us as we look at the issues that affect us here at home in our community and across the nation, and in this case, I think you could say globe. Long gone are the days of specialty typists and memo dictation. Present is the endless feed of information at our fingertips. With the information age comes a lifestyle of staring into screens, slouching at our desks, and craning our necks downward at every opportunity to see our smartphones and the dazzling colors in their displays and the digits flying by. We've never been more connected, but also our skeletal health hasn't been challenged like this in an unimaginable time. So I guess, Jason, we'll start. You were an engineer and you found a new life doing something that you love. Tell us about that.
Yes, I was a schooled engineer. I worked for an automotive production company for a while, and then, like a lot of manufacturing in this country, my job got shipped overseas. And so one part ideological, I guess, one part frustration, I decided to follow another passion of mine, which was fitness. And in spite of all the schooling, it only cost me about $500 to become a certified personal trainer. But I was certainly been pleased with the career switch because I was able to apply a lot of the same mechanical and engineering principles that I applied in the production industry to the human body. And once I got into fitness, I realized that, the automotive industry had existed for 100 years by the time I was into it, but fitness was relatively new. And I noticed that a lot of the techniques and a lot of kind of the standard procedures were, I wouldn't say outdated, but they weren't optimal in a mechanical sense. So I began that new career, started getting excellent, almost extraordinary results with clients. And during that time, a chiropractor who had an office connected to the gym that I worked at, he enlisted me to work with his back pain patients, doing 30-minute sessions for back strengthening and posture improvement. And then during that time, I devised a relatively novel series of exercises for his patients to strengthen their back and realign their spine, and got fantastic results. And that's the thing that people have to understand about back and neck pain. Is it's most of the time when it's chronic and it's not due to a car accident or a severe trauma, a blunt trauma, most back and neck pain is really what they call mechanical or organic in nature. It's really just due to a spine that's out of alignment. I'm sure that everybody's familiar somewhat with the construction of the spine. It's constructed of a series of vertebrae, and they're made to function optimally when in proper alignment, which is known as good posture. And when forward misalignment starts to occur, the spaces between the vertebrae shorten, muscles, and you have a lot of muscles back there, believe it or not, a lot of different ones working together. The muscles back there are forced to work out of balance and at awkward angles, and that's when a lot of the pain starts. And so I devised a series of exercises, started getting really, really good results, and now we're just trying to get the word out.
So I guess one way that it manifests itself is what I've seen it before in other places too. It's this idea of text neck, the effects of us having this technology in our hands all the time. What does text neck look like? Before we get into the short and long term effects, what does that look like, and what is it anatomically? What's that coming from?
Okay, a little bit of history on text neck. It was a medical condition that was coined as recently as 2008. And like you'd mentioned before, most of us, I guess you could call it an addiction to our cell phones, laptops, iPads, video games. It seems like everything we do technology-wise, even sitting on the couch watching TV, all of it propagates looking down, either mildly or more severely. And what's happening with text neck is your neck, kind of like the rest of your spine, has a natural curve to it. In the case of the neck, it's more of a C curve, and that's what keeps your head upright and kind of in a neutral balance on top of your neck and shoulders. When people are chronically looking down at their electronic devices, what's happening is you're actually straightening out that C curve, and when that curve gets straightened, it causes the head to always be in a state of forward or mildly looking down. And The issue with that is this. I mean, the human head in adults at least is roughly the weight of a bowling ball. And the more that head angles forward at a resting position, the greater the forces that are felt by the spine. And even to some of the more severe degrees of text neck, it's been estimated that what is 8 to 9 pounds of force from a standard skull gets compounded to 60 to 80 pounds when the head is lurching forward and kept there, which is, to put it in perspective, it's kind of the equivalent to carrying around an 8-year-old on your head, on your neck. And so you can kind of understand how that can lead to muscular pain and strain after a while.
How about when it comes to in unison with, I see a lot of people who, from using computers and keyboards, we have shoulders that are, I don't know if the word is rotating, but it looks like we're kind of slumping forward a little bit.
Yes, rolled shoulders. And what makes technology a bigger culprit than, say, just lounging on the couch and slouching on the couch, or even to some degree just slouching in your car, is that while we're using technology, we're also focused and tensing muscles, whether we're at the computer and typing or peering down into our cell phone screen and tapping our fingers. So what compounds the issue is not only the misalignment that occurs while we're using these devices, but we're also activating musculature and kind of straining those muscles at the same time, which doesn't help the cause. And I'll take this one step further for your listeners. The human body in its infinite design, if that's what you want to call it, is a marvelous organism. And there's so many systems working together to keep us healthy. It's adaptive and whatnot. But in some cases, I've often wondered, when you consider all of the tissue, vital organs, muscular, that's in front of the spine, and now think about all the tissue that's actually behind the spine. Pretty big difference there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, we were meant to have a tail to balance all that out. So my point is, almost from jump, when you can consider the mechanics of the human body, it seems like we were predisposed anyway to have poor posture. When you consider all the weight that's naturally in front of the spine compared to the amount of mass or weight that's behind the spine, then you start doing activities which require you to look forward or peer down, and it's natural. Why? Because that's where the eyes are located. And then you combine that with gravity, and it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, I mean, okay, so I have a desk job. Let's say I sit at a computer 8 hours a day. What do I do to limit that problem of all this forward weight fighting my back?
Right. There's a million things that you can do, and I'm a fan of keeping it simple and kind of going for the easy wins. And one of the things that everyone can do, whether you're using a computer screen or a laptop, which might require some modification, a keyboard to attach it, but one of the things that everyone can do is elevate their computer screen. Now, in my office, and it doesn't have to be any more complicated than this, you can buy shelves that you can rest your computer monitor on. In my case, just because I wanted a quick fix and didn't want to order it, I actually got a milk crate and put a nice, burgundy towel around it for decorative purposes. And I actually set my computer monitor on the milk crate. It's a perfect height where I'm actually looking straight ahead now while I'm looking at my screen.
Jason, mine is a box of copier paper that is empty. That was the adaptation we did at my desk.
Okay, so you've see, it doesn't take much. All that matters is the end result. However you got to do it. But the neat thing about that tip is you can actually use your computer time to reinforce a good posture, and more so when you're looking straight ahead. When you're looking down, you're actually stretching the muscles behind in the back of your neck and further misaligning them, which isn't helping the cause. But when you raise your monitor, you actually get a nice, what's called an isometric contraction, a static contraction of the neck muscles. So you can actually use all that computer time to do a passive exercise to keep your neck and back in alignment. So anyone that spends any amount of time on a computer or a laptop, like I said, you can put your laptop on a base like that and just invest in a keyboard to hook up to your laptop. So anything to get your screen at eye level is probably one of the best things you can do to maintain your spine alignment.
Okay, well then what about when it comes to the phone that I'm holding in my hand? Like, what's the trick for adapting that?
Exactly. The phone is a bit trickier. Obviously, the first idea is to text and raise the phone up to your eye level. But let's face it, nobody likes doing that. Our neurons haven't fired that way. We can't text as fast. It's hard to, a lot of us like to walk and text or do other activities, but when a phone is in front of your eyes, you can't see what you're doing. It's what everybody recommends, but it's not very practical. That's why you don't see too many people doing it. Now, I'm not advising against it. If you've got the dedication, feel free. Hold the phone in front of your eyes at eye level and text from there. But I found a more practical tip that accomplishes the same is, let's backtrack a little bit here. If you have any sports fans and they remember the name Larry Bird or even a Steve Nash, these were NBA players that had back problems. And some of you may recall that these guys with back problems, when they were going to the bench, they wouldn't sit on the bench like the rest of the players. And keep in mind, these guys are tall. They're sitting on a short bench, which promotes slouching, which is bad for your back. These guys, when they went to the bench on the side of the court, would actually put a towel down and lay on their stomach and their elbows and look up at the court. Now that is an example of another passive exercise that's reinforcing good spinal alignment. Compare the position of your spine when you're lying on your stomach versus sitting on the bench and slouching forward. And you can implement the same principle when you know that you're going to be texting for long periods of time. If you're at home, go ahead and lie in your bed on your stomach with your elbows touching the bed and hold your phone in front of your face. And what that will do is it will give you a passive isometric exercise to all the muscles along your spine to reinforce good posture. It might feel a little bit awkward at first, so just maybe start with a few minutes at a time in duration. But believe it or not, after a while, that position that feels awkward at the beginning can start to feel very natural, and you'll find yourself being able to text for hours.
A lot of small little things that we do every day that can be simple, small changes to make a difference. Jason Bowman, find out more about what he's been talking about today by going to bodyalign.com. Bodyalign.com. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Yes, it's my pleasure, sir.
Here's to an awesome Sunday, one where you feel good and your back feels good as well. Conversations is a public affairs program of this station. Thanks for joining us.